I grabbed the door, and as soon as I pulled that door closed, and as soon as I heard that latch click, I turned around and BAGON! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video we're going to get back to telling some crazy prison stories. In this video I'm going to tell you a story that I probably should have told here for quite some time now. In fact, this is a story that a lot of people may have been waiting for here because it does deal with Joe getting beat up in prison. In fact, this was one of the worst fights that I ever got in my life while locked up. And this fight happened with a guy by the name of Tyson. I've mentioned a little bit of this fight in previous videos, and since then a lot of people have asked me, Joe, whatever happened between you and this guy named Tyson that led to you getting beat probably within an inch of your freaking life? Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, this really is not a story that I'm looking forward to telling and having to relive, but it is something that happened while I was locked up. It certainly was a major learning experience for me, to say the least, at least what I can really remember of this. I was pretty much knocked unconscious by this guy, and you know, I learned the hard way just why this guy had a nickname, Tyson. So without further ado, what do you say we just go ahead and dive head first into this prison storytime video. Now, the first thing that I have to say about this fight is this did happen many years ago. In fact, this happened sometime around the age of like 18 or 19 years old when I first began getting in trouble and then getting locked up. But it was during the very first time that I would actually have to serve any time at all. In fact, I was serving something like 11 months in the jail when this fight took place. Now, during this time that I served this 11 months in the jail, I ended up becoming a trustee. I've mentioned what a trustee is in previous videos, and a trustee is an inmate in the jail who basically has a job. A lot of trustees work in the kitchen, maybe laundry, maybe their job is to wax and buff floors. There are a lot of different jobs that trustees can have while in the jail. And during this time that I was a trustee, my job was working in the kitchen, and I worked on the line. And what the line is basically where you have a team of prisoners who work 3 different shifts every single day. They go in like 2 or 3 hours before breakfast, 2 or 3 hours before lunch, and 2 or 3 hours before dinner. And in fact, while you work on the line, you're pretty much working all damn day. And your job consists of putting the food on the tray, then putting the lids on these trays, loading them up into these big carts that will then be delivered to the different housing units and cell blocks throughout the jail to feed the jail population. But while I was working as a trustee on the line with this team of prisoners, there was a guy who worked right beside me by the name of Tyson. Now, one of the crazy things about this is me and Tyson, we were actually pretty cool. In fact, we were housed in the same cell. This wasn't a 2-man cell. I think it was something like an 8-man cell. But me and Tyson, we were in the same cell. We worked on the same line as trustees, preparing this food to be served to the other prisoners. And we were also pretty cool with each other. We used to laugh and joke a lot during the time that we would work together because that would kind of make the job a little easier. Again, working 3 shifts every single day, pretty much all day long, it got pretty tiring inside the jail. So one of the ways that we would try to make things better is by laughing and joking. Well, one of these days while we were laughing and joking, and one of the things that I would joke Tyson about the most would be the way that he talked. Because for a young dude who was pretty solid and nicknamed Tyson, and supposedly like one of the most thorough guys in the jail, meaning he was trained to go, this guy was a fighter. He talked with a really weird, high-pitched type of voice. Sort of like, hey guys, I'm Tyson. One of the things that I remember most about this guy Tyson is the fact that his voice did not fit neither his nickname nor his appearance nor his reputation at all. When you would hear this guy talk, you would not even imagine just how hard this guy really went. And I think to myself, like, what if this guy had problems with somebody who didn't really know who he was? Let's just say hypothetically he was arguing with somebody on the phone. I don't know how this would all transpire, but let's just use this for an example and say Tyson is on the phone arguing with somebody who doesn't know him at all. And he's like, I'm gonna come kick your ass. The other person would be on the phone thinking, who in the hell is this guy? This guy does not sound like anybody that I would be worried about. But the crazy thing is this guy is definitely someone you should worry about. And again, unfortunately, Joe found this out the hard way. It's crazy because this guy legitimately knocked me out and beat the living shit out of me. But even with that, I still remember this day pretty damn well. And how everything transpired that led up to old Joe laying on a cooler floor pretty much probably within like an inch of his freaking life. On this day, we were working on the line, preparing the trays, and it was just like any other day, laughing and joking back and forth. But sometimes when people laugh and joke, it can go too far. Now, I am quite certain that it was me who took things to the extreme because, again, I have to remind you, me and Tyson, we were cool. But while laughing and joking, either I offended him or he offended me, and this only added gasoline to the entire situation because for whatever reason, it was me who called out Tyson saying, well, I bet you won't fight me, and if you will, then why don't we go in the cooler? Now, if I can remember correctly, I'm quite sure Tyson was trying to avoid this situation at all costs. He was probably saying something along the lines of, Joe, let me tell you something. You don't want to do this, man. And maybe even my own self-conscious was probably telling me the same damn thing. Joe, you don't want to do this. But we were working around other prisoners and I had already called Tyson out. So there was no way that he was going to be able to back out of this situation. And there most certainly was no way I was going to be able to back out of this situation, considering the fact I'm the one who pretty much instigated us fighting in the first place. Come on in this cooler, Tyson. I swear you don't want none of old Joe. You know, sometimes there will come moments in your life when you will realize what you just did probably was not the smartest decision you could have ever made. In fact, you won't realize it until after the fact that that was a pretty damn dumb thing that you did. And this one particular moment where I am calling out a guy by the nickname of Tyson, built like a freaking boxer, was most certainly one of those moments in my own very life. Me and Tyson walked into the cooler. I can only imagine all of the other prisoners who knew that this was about to happen were thinking to themselves, oh my God, Joe is about to get demolished inside of that cooler. And I will never forget getting inside of that cooler, squaring up with Tyson like I'm really about to do something to this guy. And Tyson saying to me, close the door. Joe, close the door, man. If we're gonna fight, close the door. Nah, Tyson, let's just do this right now, man. Let's just do this right now. Close the door, Joe. Close the door. Now you may be wondering to yourself, why would you close yourself inside of a cooler? Wouldn't you be locked inside of there? And no, you wouldn't be. In fact, they've got the little button that you can push in right there. It's like a little latch release and you can open the door from inside of the cooler. That way you don't lock yourself inside of a cooler and probably freeze to death on accident. But squared up, Tyson's still telling me, Joe, close the door, Joe, close the door. Okay, I'm gonna go close the door. I grabbed the door, and as soon as I pulled that door closed, and as soon as I heard that latch click, I turned around and BAGON! Maybe I was knocked out with that first hit, but I do remember trying to get back up and bang, bang, bang. Yeah, it was pretty much lights out for Joe. Now, I do have to say this. I was not completely knocked out because I did try to keep continuing to get up, slipping and sliding with my little rubber jail worker boots on, and I just could not regain any kind of balance whatsoever with these haymakers just continuously being tossed into my face. Bung, 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 bung. You know, one thing that I do remember from all of this is just how bad it hurt every time this guy landed. I mean, he landed every single punch. His punch accuracy was probably a 99.9% success rate. And to be honest with you, again, Joe didn't even get one single swing in. I didn't even get a swing. I didn't even get a chance to take those old dick beaters and say, woo. I didn't even get a chance at all. Not one single swing did Joe even throw during this basic demolition that was taking place inside of this jail cooler with this guy by the nickname of Tyson. Now, once this assault was once this fight was finally over, Tyson walked out of the cooler. We couldn't obviously walk out of the cooler together because Tyson had won and Joe was just slumped inside of the cooler. So Tyson probably walks out of the cooler, goes back to the line, and just continues to do his job like nothing ever happened. Joe, on the other hand, basically had to crawl out of this cooler trying to regain my sense of balance. There was a restroom that was right there in the kitchen for prisoners. I stumbled into this restroom. I'll never forget, as soon as I came out of the cooler, there was another kitchen trustee right there who looked at me and just said, oh shit. And at this point, I can't even really focus. I'm just trying to get to this bathroom to just see how bad the damage is. I get into the bathroom and I am bleeding all over my face. My eye is swollen shut. I can only barely see out of the other eye. My lip is busted. My nose is busted. I'm bleeding from my eye. And now I'm just trying to clean myself up in the sink, getting all of this blood off of my face, hoping that somehow this won't end up looking as bad as it does right here in this moment. Because in this moment, there is no way in hell jail officials and staff and guards are gonna not see this. I mean, during count, you have to stand up. They're looking at you in your face. If this continues to look this bad, and to be honest, it was only gonna end up looking worse with each passing moment as my face continued to swell from all of this damage that I had taken during this fight. I did the absolute best that I could trying to clean myself up. There was nothing I could really do. I cleaned myself up, regained my composure to the best of my ability, and went right back on the line and began doing my job like nothing ever happened. What's up, guys? Everyone at this point is looking at me like I am the biggest idiot in the world. They're laughing at me. Damn, Joe, Tyson just fucked you up. I'm telling you, it's really not as bad as it looks. But in fact, it was a lot worse than I could have ever imagined. After our shift ended, I somehow made it back to the housing unit and back to the cell without any guards seeing my face. And again, had they seen my face right there, they would have been like, what the hell happened? Where did this happen? Who did this to you? You need to tell us right now. And for the next couple of days, I did very, very good at keeping my face out of sight of these prison guards, especially during count time. But on this one particular day, a few days after this fight had taken place, there was a guard who saw my face and then asked me, Guerrero, who did this to you? What happened? What are you talking about? I'm fine. This guard asked me this during count, and I told him, hey, I'm perfectly fine. And then after count cleared, I was taken out of the housing unit to the investigator's office, where they then began to interrogate me, asking me, who did you get in a fight with? Who did this to you? Nobody did anything to me. I was playing basketball. I got elbowed in the eye. It's really not that big of a deal at all. But because I'm sure this looked a hell of a lot worse than just an elbow to the eye during a jailhouse basketball game, I was taken to the hole. Because if I wasn't going to tell them who I fought, well, then they were going to lock me up under investigation for suspicion of fighting. You know, there really is nothing worse than not only losing a fight while locked up, or anywhere for that matter, but to not only lose that fight, but to then be called out into the investigator's office, to be questioned, to have all of the other prisoners in that jail looking at you as you're being let out, whispering among themselves, Joe's about to tell on Tyson. He's about to go tell something. It's over for Tyson. Yeah, that's a really horrible feeling. Not only that they're looking at your face saying, oh my God, look how bad this guy got beat up, but now he's being let out of the housing unit and he's probably gonna go tell something. Well, contrary to popular prison snitching beliefs, Joe didn't tell anything at all. In fact, Joe went to isolation under investigation for suspicion of fighting. And I stayed in isolation for 3 weeks. You wanna know how long Tyson did in isolation? Not a single day. Because no matter what, under no circumstances whatsoever, Joe will not tell it. In fact, I don't care if I win or I lose. And in most cases, I did just that. Lose. No matter what, Joe will not tell it. So not only did he get the major W for beating the living shit out of me during this fight, But he also didn't get in any trouble for this whatsoever. In fact, when I was finally released from isolation after those 3 weeks, and I was then sent to a maximum security cell block for fighting, well, after serving my time in maximum security and then not getting in any trouble after that, I was able to work my way back to that trustee block right there, right beside old Tyson again. And wouldn't you know, Tyson and old Joe, they were like best friends again. And Tyson, he didn't have anything to worry about old Joe coming off slick to him ever again. Lesson learned. You know, life can be full of learning experience just like being locked up can. Sometimes you're going to learn it the easy way, and then again, sometimes you may have to learn it the hard way. And in this fight, as in many other fights that I lost throughout all of the time that I was locked up, I found myself learning the hard way quite a bit. But you know what? No matter how you learn it, whether you learn it the easy way or whether you learn it the hard way, that's pretty much just what life is. You're going to learn one way or another. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video of Joe telling you about getting the shit kicked out of him by a guy named Tyson. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about this video. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day.